All right, welcome everybody to the social media beer mashup event of the century. We are here at Nostalgia Brewing, the future home of Nostalgia Brewing. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I'm host of the Taproom Exclusive out of Cleveland, Ohio. I am joined by the best of the best here in Ohio beer knowledge people. Let's just start down here to my right and say your name, where you're from, and what area you represent in Ohio.
First off, I think you're being really generous by saying we're the best of the best.
Well,
Northeast or Ohio beer culture, but
I say what I believe.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Take it away.
Hi, I'm Nikki McVicky from The Hop and the Bean, and we are out of Akron, Ohio. We just started this summer, trying to cover most of, a little bit of Northeast Ohio, but branching out as much as we can. It's my partner, Buzz Andrews, over here.
Yeah, Buzz Andrews here, not Bud. Hop and the Bean out of Akron, Ohio. We hit up brew pubs and coffee shops all around the Akron area. We've even explored some parts of central Ohio, but mainly out of Akron, coffee shops and brew pubs, the Hop and the Bean.
I think what's kind of cool about this event is we have kind of a cross-section of bloggers, Facebook page runners, podcasters that all kind of do something a little bit different. So I kind of like the unique take that the Hop and the Bean has, because they do something that's a little bit different from what the rest of us do, where you guys really focus on the community aspect.
Yeah.
Going in and talking to the brewers about like how they build community in their tap rooms, their community outreach, things that they do as far as fundraisers. You're really focused on community.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's always the unique story. We were talking today with one of the brewers about, we could talk forever about the beer or the coffee and their origins and the brewing style and everything else, but we love capturing the stories of their story, actually, and the people and the community, exactly like you just said.
Right. I'm Rob Tittle. I'm Northeast Ohio Craft Brewery News Facebook page. Been up for about 2 years, coming up on our 2-year anniversary. And unlike the rest of these fine folks that's sitting at this table, I am neither a podcaster or a blogger per se.
What do you consider yourself?
Basically our page is a beer news aggregation site. So that's pretty much all we do, is that we share our news in one convenient, neat package to go from all around the state. So I'm sharing all the stories from Mark Bona of Cleveland.com, Rick Armand of the Akron Beacon Journal, J.D. Malone down in Columbus. If it's a story that I think is important to beer fans in Ohio, with a particular focus on Northeast Ohio, that's the stuff that I kind of aggregate and share in one place. So you don't have to look at 27,000 different beer Facebook pages, because let's face it,
it sucks
our
going through that.
Our scene in Ohio is like exploding. We're coming up on, I think we talked here a couple days ago about we're approaching 300 breweries in the state of Ohio now, and it gets daunting if you're a beer fan that likes to get out to tap rooms and try new places, to try to keep track of all those places and what place is opening and who's got the latest new beer release and who's expanding. And it's kind of nice to have everything just in one neat package where you just follow it on one page. And so I kind of try to stay on top of that. So, Dean.
Nice. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, my show is called the Taproom Exclusive. I'm out of Cleveland, Ohio. Every month on my show, I feature a new brewery, and every week in that month, I feature a breakdown and a history of a different beer on their menu. Just kind of give people an idea of where the beer they're drinking comes from and the inspiration behind it. That's a lot of the stuff I really gravitate towards, along with the community aspect of it. It seems like in the craft beer world, the community is the biggest part, and it seems like they're the biggest provider of support to this industry. Outside of any, people like movies and stuff, they go and see movies, but there seems to be a big passion with craft beer consumers that allow us to do all of this, and that's amazing. I really like to hear kind of why they came up with a name of a brewery or a beer, why they decided to go with that specific style, and give people an option if they want to go home and eat with it. Give you pairing options and stuff like that. Try to do like a real breakdown. Every episode's only about 15 to 20 minutes. Nice
Concise. I think
yeah,
that's
it's
what I like.
concise and it's a for travel. You know,
Right,
you
yeah.
can-
Bite-sized.
I think I like that most about your format, and not to knock any other podcaster, but most beer podcasts and most podcasts in general seem to run around an hour long.
Yeah, hours
and
are
people
great.
have a short attention span.
Absolutely, it's when
And
you
so
get
it's
into
nice
like
that you
3
can-
pluses that you're like, oh, that's a
Absolutely.
lot.
And,
That's
and
a
this
lot.
podcast is probably going to run longer than most.
Yeah,
We're talking
but that's
about,
when you
there's-
get 6 or 7 people
you got 7
at a table.
8 beer people, beer fans that are talking about beer, we tend to
Yeah.
get a little bit long-winded. But I like the fact that yours are short, concise, 15-minute episodes that you can kind of listen to once a week at your leisure. I listen to them a lot when I'm sitting at my desk at my full-time job. You know, and whenever you have a new episode come on, I always get geeked to
On
hear about what
Tuesdays.
you're talking about that week. So, cool format, and it's a great show. So definitely
Well,
tune
thank
into
you.
the chat room exclusive.
Rob's been a huge
Yeah.
help with promoting the show, as with Hop and Bean. Rob's been doing great about helping get the word out about all of our different formats and stuff. And so
Absolutely.
Rob, thank you so much
Yeah,
and for
absolutely.
putting this together with Sean. Sean down here at the end from Points on Pints. You know, him and Rob really put the legwork.
Can we have a
in.
round of applause for Sean?
Yeah,
for
let's,
today?
let's Sean.
Sean hooked us up with a couple beer tours, and man, did we have a lot of fun today. So.
Thank you guys both for putting this together and really working hard. Continuing on down the line now, we've got to my left, Brian.
Yeah. So I'm Brian Vick. I'm with NEO Craft Beer Community. Wound up in that with 2 of my really good friends, Ryan and Ryan. And I'm convinced the only reason I'm still a moderator in the group is because I'm Brian and not Ryan. that's debated. I'm a transplant down here in Columbus, originally from Northeast Ohio, born, raised, worked, went to school, spent the majority of my time up there, and honestly had the unfortunate timing of leaving Northeast Ohio before the real explosion of the craft beer scene up there. So it's really still cool to stay ingrained. I've still got friends and family up there, so I'm up there quite a bit, but it's also cool seeing the Columbus aspect of it and how it relates to Cleveland. And just as everybody has said, across the state of Ohio, really trying to just tie everything together because, I mean, we're only separated by an hour and a half. You know, it's amazing how different things can get from Cleveland to Columbus and even, down to Cincinnati. So,
And going to your point about the explosion in this state in everything, I was gone for almost 10 years after college, through college and after college and stuff. And, Great Lakes was like the main place up in Cleveland when I left. And now I come back, and I came back like a few years ago. And now it's insane. It's just the wealth of great quality breweries that we have all around the state is just incredible.
yep.
Continuing on down to the Gnome.
Yeah, I'm the Gnarly Gnome. I'm from the Cincinnati region. I have to say region because people get mad when I say that I write about Cincinnati and then I do a brewery that's like 40 miles away. But I have like a 40-mile bubble around Fountain Square in Cincinnati that I consider the city. Do a podcast called CincyBrewcast. The blog is thegnarlygnome.com. And I just eat, sleep, and breathe Cincinnati beer, which was why today was so fun because I don't get out to other breweries that aren't Cincinnati breweries that often.
Same here with
I
Cleveland.
don't even get to drink the beer on the shelf because I've got so much stuff backed up that I can't do off of here. So, that's what I do.
It's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have.
And last but certainly not least, we continue with Sean. Introduce yourself.
So my name's Sean. I have been running a website / Instagram page, Facebook page, Points on Pints for the last 3 years or so, and it was basically started to track my beer tourism around Ohio. So I've been to now 176 breweries in all of Ohio, and I am now coming on to Nostalgia Brewing, which we're sitting in as the marketing lead. So Nostalgia will be my 177th brewery if you count new breweries.
I just want to say you're my hero.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
track,
That's
right?
great.
Yeah,
That's
who's keeping
incredible.
track?
Yeah. Well, the website was to keep track.
It was built
Exactly.
in. It was like you planned it.
Exactly.
So I mean, beer tourism was big in Columbus. The Ale Trail launched 4 years ago. It'll be the 5th iteration. There really wasn't a trail anywhere else, so I was looking for more. I completed the Ale Trail. I was looking for more, so I started going outside of Columbus, and that's where Northeast Ohio and Toledo and Cincinnati, and that's how I found Gnarly Gnome over here. Was you look up Cincinnati beer and you see everything from him. So that's awesome. Thank you for all of the great content that you
It's
provide.
just because we're sharing a microphone.
We're really close.
And speaking of nostalgia, go ahead and tell everybody about this place and kind of how you kind of came to be involved and what the plans are for this awesome space.
Yeah, so I became involved with the other owners, Jason and Michelle, which they're off camera, but they're here. They owned multiple brewing down in Nelsonville, and I approached them about 6 to 9 months back. I don't know exactly the time frame, but about helping them out with marketing and just doing it pro bono, just to get a little bit of a repertoire, if you will, and helped out. Jason and Michelle had the opportunity to come on and start something new here, so that's what they approached me with. Nice. To be a part of it. And yeah, it started January 1st. We started tearing down some things and reestablishing this brewery as Nostalgia Brewing, and excited to bring a new brewery to Creekside and Gahanna. And yeah, it's coming along, but it's still a few weeks away. So.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Saved by the Bell theme that you guys are going to have going on.
Yeah.
It's gonna
little inside joke.
Slater.
I did read about that.
You're killing me.
We're going to change somebody's name to Smalls. We're all tasting the Hellas
From
lager,
the beer fridge.
from you guys. This is a really nice Hellas
And I'll
lager.
tell you, I'm already empty. This is the second.
Mine's is like going
I
through
got
like
in trouble because I drank mine before we started, and I did not know it was supposed to be on camera when we began. So
It's all good. When you put beer in front of beer nerds, we're going to drink it.
Fair point.
This Hellas is called 7734. If you ever used a calculator as a young lad,
gotcha.
you probably know what that's about. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
I was going to ask about that. Okay,
Yeah.
there we
so
go.
the tagline for Nostalgia is beer that starts a conversation, and we wanted to name our beer something nostalgic, something that brought back memories from the past and elicited that good feeling of
are you
doing
going to have
something.
anything else that was spelled where you could flip the calculator upside down?
Dean's actually typing 7734 into his phone right now to see what
I had
happens.
to figure it out. I what's a calculator? No.
8008.
Yeah, that was
Yes,
going to say
yes.
that's the obvious next one. And then so there's been a lot going on in 2018 within Ohio. It seems like all over the state. There's stuff popping up everywhere. Lots of great events going on and expansions galore. I kind of want to just start back at the end again and work our way down like we did, and kind of just go over some of the bigger news events from your region from the last year.
Sure, yeah. So as we've traveled around, Hop in the Bean, mainly Akron area, one of the biggest things that we've seen in the works, it's going to be huge for downtown Akron, is Arche's expansion into Canal Place. 60,000 square foot facility that they've started construction on, kind of really breaking ground as they headed into the new year, end of last year though. And if you know anything about Canal Place, it's a historical building downtown Akron. It's going to be a big deal for the Akron, what's going to be called the Akron Beer District in downtown Akron, tying into kind of another story that relates directly to it, which is the Akron Beer District. That's going to tie in the newly Lock 15 opening, acronym. Royal Docks is throwing in a brew pub in the Bowery building. I don't believe anything is in writing yet.
It's not 100%. Yeah, it's not 100%. But I would.
If
I know those guys, I would
really,
bet on it happening.
They have released an article about it.
Yep.
And so that's going to be huge, turning Akron into a beer destination.
And you forgot Missing Falls.
And
Don't forget Missing Falls.
Absolutely, right across the door from the new Arche facility.
Literally, you'll be able to open the door and walk from one to the other.
Yeah, so I mean that's a massive deal. It's going to create a lot of more of that community that we're talking about in Akron. Literally, the mayor has already approved the term Akron Brew District. And so, I mean, that's huge. Yeah,
very
so
cool.
I couldn't be more excited. I've talked with Ron for about a couple years now about this plan that he's had in the works, and seeing it come to life, and seeing he documents all his construction on his videos, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yep.
So I'm super stoked for it.
Yeah,
that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
There's just a lot. Akron's just blowing up. You know, there's just so much going on out that way.
Yeah, the whole scene. I mean, it's just kind of becoming like a mini Cleveland.
Yeah.
And you know, if you don't want to get in the car and drive 45 minutes to the north, there's just as much happening in downtown Akron now as there is in Cleveland. But you know, a lot of stuff probably at the fraction of the cost. It's going to become an area where you can really have like a family event. You know, take the kids to an Akron. Is it Arrows, Rubber Ducks? What are they calling them?
The Rubber Ducks.
The Rubber Ducks.
Rubber Ducks.
Take the kids to a Rubber Ducks baseball game during the summer.
The
for
team
a
is
fraction
called the
of-
Rubber Ducks?
It is
Yes.
called the Rubber Ducks.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Believe it
Absolutely.
or
Yes. Yeah, I said they should name the stadium the bathtub.
And I don't know who thought that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It is the headquarters of Goodyear.
Some
Yeah.
Goodyear guy came out. He's like,
Yeah.
Rubber Ducks.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, you can take the kids to a game, and then afterwards go out to dinner, grab a bite, hit a couple breweries,
Right.
You know, and probably do it for the fraction of the cost of what it would take to do that
Yeah.
same experience down in the big city. So a lot of good things happening down in Akron right now.
Mixed with everything happening in Cuyahoga Falls.
Yep.
I mean, we have, 4 or 5 breweries?
4, soon to be 5.
Soon to be 5.
Well,
I
3,
mean-
soon to be 4, soon to be 5, because Ohio Brewing's not open yet.
Yeah, on Front Street, all those. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into Missing Mountain, Hi-Ho, all those guys doing phenomenal things. So, I mean, and 10, 15 minutes away from downtown Akron, it's tying it all into a beautiful scene.
Yep, for sure.
Anything
kinda-
else? Anything else from you guys? As
I
far
mean-
as it seems there's a lot to narrow down.
Yeah.
A
we're
lot
kinda
happened in
casting
2018.
kind of casting a big net right now.
Yeah.
And just kind of watching it grow and not really narrowing it down yet. But, I mean, there's still some stuff I think that bleeds over into Rob's page, being Northeast Ohio Craft Brew News. But, nothing super specific.
All right.
Yeah,
Rob,
I think probably my 2 biggest stories of the year are probably the new Fatheads expansion. Fatheads, I think, has taken over the universe along with probably Platform and Brewdog.
Yeah.
So it's going to be all Ohio Brew everywhere soon. The really huge 120,000 square foot building that they opened this year in Middleburg Heights. Opened in, I don't know, Dean and I went to the grand opening. When was
yeah,
that?
that was August 20-something.
Yeah, August, and I mean that place is just blowing up already. And Fatheads announced, the big plans for distribution this year,
Yeah,
and a
they're
lot of
putting
your
that thing to work.
favorite beers that you haven't been able to get before, much more than once a year, like Hop Juju, now going to be available in cans.
Yeah,
4
the
times
cans
a
is
year.
going to be nice.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. 'Cause, I mean, Fatheads is kind of universally adored, at least in the Midwest, and now
Sure.
their ability to produce that much more quality beer and get it out to market in the quantities that people want. I don't have to be chasing it down all the time, or only have to have it once a year. So that was a pretty huge expansion, and the site is beautiful. If you haven't been out there yet, I highly encourage you to take the trip over there. My other big story, I think, probably from 2018 is the 13 or 14 medals that Ohio Brewers won at
Yes.
Great American
Yeah.
Brew Fest this year. And then, obviously we have some great brewers throughout the entire state. Ohio is making some top-notch beer right now. But if I can just brag on Northeast Ohio, not to knock any other region, 10 of those 14 medals did come from Northeast Ohio. I'm just saying.
There were 6 of
so-
them from Cincinnati, though.
There were, yes, and 2 just from one brewery alone. Brink knocked it out of
Brink.
the park, and they're the only brewery in the state that took home two medals. But
big.
10 of the 14 medals came from our region, and I think that's something that we should all be pretty proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Kind of going along the lines of all the expansion that we've been talking about, I'd kind of lump together really Brewdog, Seventh Son, and Hoofheart had all expanded this year. I don't know if any of you guys have been in the facility up in Marengo, but it's actually a really, really cool space. I mean, I went up there one day for mom jeans and wound up watching football up there for a while. It's
Nice.
not something you would ever thought you'd doing at Hoofheart. It is watching a football game, but and then on Brewdog especially, they've got the hotel now. They've opened up their museum inside the tap room, and then on top of that, they've got the Franklinton and the Short North locations. And Short North is cool if you're in the downtown area. The Franklinton one it's off the beaten path a little bit, but I mean it is cool. It is multi-level. They can open up the top floor, open everything up. It's probably if you're just going to drink, if you're not looking for the food, it would rival the Canal location,
Really?
in my opinion. Yeah, from when I was there.
Wow.
It's also right across the street from Land Grant, so you
Yes.
can hit up 2 breweries
Very, very
in a
true. Very true.
very short time.
Wow.
And then, another big event for me was Wolfridge 5th year, and that's actually where we came from right before we came back here, which is really cool seeing how they're continuing to grow and the things that they're doing. But one of my big events is actually, some people may consider it probably not the most positive thing for the area, but we're happy that he's going on to bigger and better things, and it's Brad leaving Jackie O's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of Jackie O's fans across the area, and I know Jackie O's is known widespread, and we hope for the best for Brad. But I mean that was kind of a shocker when that one came out.
He's,
Well,
he is going to start his own new brewery out in California.
Yep.
There's-
Correct.
It's
Yep.
going to be.
Yeah,
He's going to make some good beer.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
continue to make some really good beer.
that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, for the area, it's probably sad that he's leaving and
Right.
whatnot, but it's great news for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Gnome?
Yeah, so my biggest, I mean, going on the same kind of expansion and growing kind of thing, we had 12 new breweries in Cincinnati this year. It's not our biggest year ever. I think we had like 17 one year maybe, but a lot of new breweries, a lot of different smaller parts of town, some little pockets and stuff that needed a brewery. So obviously that's exciting.
Yeah.
The biggest one, though, I think, was Sam Adams opening their tap room in Cincinnati finally after God knows how many years of people saying, we really do love Sam Adams, but you're right here and you're making all this beer and you don't have a place for us to drink it. And finally starting to see them kind of stand up and say, look, yes, we're Boston Brewing Company, but we're Cincinnati. We've always been Cincinnati. It's, part of who we are, and kind of saying that out loud and standing up and kind of, waving that banner around was pretty exciting.
So when did that change? Because wasn't there a long time where it almost seemed like Boston beer kind of distanced themselves from Cincinnati? The fact that he was actually from here originally?
It was a gradual change, I think. When I started noticing it was when they started painting the brewery, which sounds stupid, but it's a beautiful old brewing building. It's been there for a long time. I would say forever, but for a long time. And if you see some of their other breweries, there are these big nondescript buildings, and you look at Cincinnati and there's murals painted on the side. There's a giant sign that says Sam Adams. You don't get that at those other places. Then they put in some really cool stained glass windows with some murals with some historical brewing figures in Cincinnati. So you started to see things like that kind of started making you think a little differently, and like, oh, maybe they do kind of think differently about why they're here and what it means to be here. So
right.
There wasn't like a one turning point where you could say, oh, they're saying it. It's just kind of a gradual thing. And then Rheingeist, you always have to mention Rheingeist, the 33rd biggest craft brewery in the country, was I think shocking for a lot of people to see them do that after 5 years.
It was, but it wasn't at the same time. I mean, like the 5-year mark is the surprising part, but then you taste their beer and you're like, that doesn't surprise me. Like the fact that it's getting out, the word is getting out, it's the quality of the beer is there.
Do you know how many states they distribute to now?
Rheingeist?
Yeah.
It's not that many. I don't know off the top of my head. It's only like 5 maybe.
Which really makes it all the more amazing.
And
that
some of that
33
distribution
biggest.
is very
We're passing
limited.
to the end, Rob.
Oh, sorry.
Rob just kept his.
Stops
It's
it,
okay.
Rob.
It's okay, Rob. I got you.
It's got 6
You can
glasses.
tell I never smoked pot in college. 'Cause that whole puff give thing, sip pass.
Oh, just give it to me.
Yeah,
rotation.
I'm like,
Give it to me.
just sorry. Now we're good.
Now I'm good. Now we're good. Okay. And which one's this? Which one's this, Sean?
Yeah, what are we drinking
Before
now?
you get to your stories.
This is the Creekside Hefeweizen. So Creekside being the area of Gehenna that we're in, we wanted to give a legit nod to the
That's
area.
nice.
And if anybody's
banana,
if
nice
anybody
glove.
is a fan of Hefeweizens,
Yeah.
this is legit.
This is fantastic.
This is very much legit.
Yeah. Oh wow. And then Sean, Gnome, were you done? Do you have anything else? I don't want to skip over you.
No. Those were the biggest.
Just
things.
wanna
I mean,
make sure.
I
Cool.
could talk Cincinnati beer all day.
Let's do it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you with beer.
Yeah. How dare you, Sean?
Anytime.
So Sean, how about you? What do you think your largest stories of the region are?
So share a lot of the same sentiments as Brian, but the closing of 4-String, both the production and the tap room,
Yeah.
I think that was a big hit to Ohio craft beer in general. I know they were doing production for a lot of breweries, and that's something that hit home for a lot of people. A brewery that large just closing their doors for no apparent reason and there's still not a lot of information out there on why or what's going to happen, other than their tap room in Grandview is now being changed into a distillery by another company. So
Really?
they're not coming back to Grandview in that location, so one would assume they're probably not coming back, but
Yeah.
not sure.
That's sad.
So.
It's sad to see a company close.
Yeah, and I mean, from a new opening standpoint, you mentioned several Antiques on High, Seven Sons, Sour Brewery that I went to a tasting that was amazing. You can tell they waited. They made sure that it was right before they started that facility, but I haven't been there. We were supposed to go today, and
Weather
and doing tours, 2-hour tours will take you off the.
Yeah. At least we didn't end up stranded on an island.
What's the old phrase? Man makes plans and God laughs. That's exactly what happened today.
100%.
The Olentangy River Brewing Company, again, they gave us a nice tour. Thank you to Josh and Kiki for taking us around and showing us around.
That
Awesome.
Belgian triple.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody's in the area, Olentangy River is going to be putting out a Belgian triple with hibiscus, and that will get me in trouble.
It'll be gone in 2 weeks, so if you hear about it being released, get there, because their stuff's been flying.
Yeah.
Yet to be named.
Yeah.
So, somewhere in particular, which is
Yes.
nowhere in particular is kind of that
Yep.
that brewer that's been putting out cans of beer, and it's usually brewed somewhere in Dayton or Cincinnati, maybe Rivertown, maybe I think they started out in Toxic.
Hence
maybe.
the name,
Yeah.
Nowhere in particular.
Yeah, very
Usually
very
one-time
gypsy
batches, right?
style
Yep.
brewing.
Yeah.
Well, they opened an actual facility called Somewhere in Particular in Columbus.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah,
Awesome
I
name.
love that. Yeah.
Great
Also,
name.
somewhere we were going to go today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still like that idea of like a one-off beer? Like once they brew it, it's done and they don't bring it back, or does anybody know?
I don't believe
Like,
so.
yeah, I've
I
heard
had
a
that
couple
same
people.
question.
I heard a couple people who went there recently. I think they recently opened, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's only been like 2 months.
Okay, yeah, and I think they might have been there maybe the first or second day or something. They were surprised it was kind of just base. It wasn't anything like like an Imperial Shores beer with rice or something. It didn't have those Nowhere in Particular staples, but they said the beer was fantastic.
Yep.
It was just more of a base style for the style. And then that could be, old information too. Like I said, they said they'd been there right after opening, so who knows what they're brewing right now, but it seems like it's quality no matter if it's just a base or if it's something crazy.
I think a lot of brewers tend to, when they're going into a new market and they're first just starting to get their name out there, kind of tend to do that, though. Most of them don't come in brewing a, Imperial Berliner Weiss with cherry and lactose and vanilla. Coming out of the gate swinging with, their craziest stuff. They're coming out with their basic styles, their Helles lagers and their hefts and their, just a basic stout with not a lot of adjuncts. Just kind of proving that, hey, we can make just the basic base beer.
If you make the basics good, you're going to make
If
other
you
things
make
good.
the basics
Yep.
good, then you're probably going to make the crazy stuff good too. So
Well,
Got to learn the basics.
Exactly, and
Right.
sometimes anymore it's really nice finding just a very, very solid, good basic style beer because so many people want to do so much with it
Right.
that to sit down and have a crisp, clean. For instance, we just had a Hefeweizen and it was wonderful.
yeah.
One of my favorite, and this is kind of skipping a bit, I apologize, but I like that American light lagers are now kind of being embraced by craft beer makers, and it's something every once in a while I just want to come home and have a beer and have it have flavor, and not have it watery and all that. So there's a lot of lagers out there right now that are doing some really great stuff, and I really like that trend that we're seeing in that.
I think the smaller tap rooms that are just like a Somewhere in Particular that's just going into a new neighborhood that maybe doesn't know a whole lot about them, I think those guys are kind of actually doing yeoman's work because they're really, maybe they don't have like massive plans to distribute and can and be on shelves in grocery stores and have their taps everywhere, all over town. But they're actually, I think they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as bringing new beer drinkers into the fold. Places in Ohio, and I published posts on my Facebook page all the time about new breweries opening in towns that are just like 2,000-3,000 people, and it's happening all across Ohio. And a lot of those brewers coming into, or a lot of those beer drinkers that are coming into those breweries, don't know about the crazy styles that
Right.
us more experienced craft beer drinkers that have probably been drinking it for 8, 9, 10 years
Right.
know about. They just want a basic clean beer. If I opened a brewery in my little neck of the woods where I'm at right now, I guarantee you everybody's going to be coming in saying, what do you have that tastes like Coors Light? What do you have that tastes like Bud? What do you have that tastes like Yinling? And so I think really those brewers are doing yeoman's work because they're putting out those just basic beer styles, the blondes and the golden ales and the pilsners and the helles that can kind of become gateway beers for people that don't have any experience with craft at all.
Yeah, and like what you're saying, how they're not really pushing for grocery store shelves. I mean, that's not really the forecast for a lot of breweries anymore. There's so little shelf space and so much on them now that a lot of it's going to the breweries. It's making sure you get the stuff fresh from them, and it relates back into what Sean was saying about how with 4 Strings closing is they're making good stuff and whatnot, but there's so much options out there on a grocery store shelf that it's hard to fathom.
Even for an experienced craft drinker that's been drinking craft for years, it's mind-numbing sometimes to walk into a store and try to figure out what you want to buy.
It's like watching Netflix.
It really is.
Oh, yeah. It is. That's great.
But I will say that 4 String was making a Hilltop Lager, Hilltop Light.
Yeah.
I feel like that was really pushing the boundaries with some of the big beers. And, they were selling well. And that's where it's like, someone needs to take the reins and still brew those styles and keep that going, keep that momentum going.
Yeah. No, I think it's great to brew those styles, but I think it's kind of telling that these small brew pubs are really, like I said, they're doing the heavy lifting. Yep. One thing that stuck with me is I was lucky enough to brew with Sandy Springs, doing the Sierra Nevada, and that's another one of my top stories, I guess, is the way the whole community came together after this whole the Resilience IPA with Sierra Nevada and the campfires out in California, the biggest fires in forest fires in U.S. history, and the loss of life out there, and the way the brewing community all kind of came together and they all brewed the same beer. So anyway, I got lucky enough to go out there and brew with them for a day. And having a conversation with Andy and Amanda Conrad and them talking about how a lot of people in Minerva, a small town like this, a 3,000-4,000 population town, came in and initially they're walking in and saying, what do you have that tastes like Bud? What do you have that tastes like Coors Light? And handing them a cream ale, or handing them a golden or a blonde. And I asked them, I said, do those same customers that came in here 1 year ago, they still come in and order... Pass it down. Do they still come in and order the cream ale? And he said, no, they come in now and they order a porter or the vitamin C porter, or they come in and order a stout. And I said, that's amazing to me, because what you've done is you've just transformed somebody. You've opened their palate, expanded them, and gotten them into a whole different world of different tastes and flavors that they probably wouldn't have tried otherwise. They were brewing or had brewed a Goza style, and my first question to them is this Goza going to work in Minerva? Is anybody going to drink this? Anybody going to order this? And they were totally confident that people would, because they've transformed so many palates in that small town.
How did the Goza
And so
go?
they're not just drinking the cream ales and all that anymore. So, that's where I think there's a lot of opportunity in our industry. What are we drinking now?
What are we drinking now, Sean?
This is
It's good.
Studying Abroad Scottish Ale.
I love me some Scottish ales.
Yeah, so it was, just...
Not a very common style to see out on shelves either, at least up in Cleveland. I really like finding some good Scottish ales.
Yeah, but you know what was cool is today,
clean.
playing off of this, we saw some black IPAs, and we've seen some other styles where we were at today that are not as big out there anymore, but it is great to see them coming again.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
agreed.
It's very cyclical. A lot of stuff that went, coming back and all that stuff. It's really nice to see stuff you didn't see for a while come back.
Yep.
If you have to, and I'm making you do it, if you have to wrap up kind of the overall kind of impression of what the beers are going to be like here, how can you sum it up into
Delicious.
traditional styles, the more
Besides
modern
delicious.
kind of stuff? I mean,
Yeah, so like we were saying earlier, we want to have beers that people can come in, get introduced to, styles that are clean, easy drinking, so that they have something that they can know is going to be good. And then we'll make the hazy pale ale, hazy double IPA, those kinds of things, milkshake IPAs. So we'll have the styles that are relatively simple for the palate, like the Helles and the Hefeweizen, but then we're going to have the milkshake IPAs so that the people that know beer and want something more and something different we'll have that available. So we have 20 taps, and not all 20 will be used for beer. We'll have some wine on tap actually, and some
nice.
like one or two maybe craft cocktails. We're still working through the details there, but we want people to experience beer, and again, the whole beer that starts a conversation. We want people to have a wide range of beers. We want to talk to them about the beers and actually get them to enjoy craft beer across the spectrum.
Yeah.
So.
There's a very nice space in here. I can't wait to see when it's done, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really cool.
Me too.
Yeah, I bet.
That patio is no joke either. I'm kind of in love with it, actually, looking at it in the summertime. I mean,
The patio.
Right.
In
You
the
have
summer,
that
it's
patio that you
heated and
can't
it's sealed
see.
off and everything, so it's warm in there. But in the summertime, I can only imagine it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's so Creekside has a lot of events, and there's live music that happens just behind us here. And if you sit on the patio, you can hear the music and experience it. You can see, depending on where you're at on the patio, see what's going on. So it is a great spot because you can sit, listen to live music, and drink great beer. And then we'll have some food options as well, of course.
Nice.
And given that I was telling these guys back in April 2017, my wife and I got married literally 2 blocks that way. One of the big things that we did is come down here and take pictures down by the creek side and a couple of the other buildings. And I definitely anticipate you guys having some bridal parties and wedding parties and whatnot in here taking pictures. And I mean, hell, that's free marketing.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Absolutely. The space is great. There's Gehenna is looking to pass Dora, so it's Gnome. You know a little bit about Dora.
Say that
I'm a
again?
big fan of Dora.
What is Dora?
The Explorer.
Yeah, the Explorer.
I know her well.
So Dora is a designated outdoor recreational area.
Oh, nice.
Look at that off the top of my head. You can go into any liquor license holder and you can get a Dora cup. It's a little plastic cup with the date written on it and the place you bought it at. And you can fill it with beer or whatever and go just walk around outside. Go from from here, go out
Nice.
there, listen to music with your beer in your hand. Go, so stores have to put a thing in their window saying you can go in with your beer, but you can go shopping and stuff. You can't take it into another liquor license holder. You have to finish it before you walk in. But
I want to say, is there a
It's
couple
amazing.
other towns in Ohio that are like this, like Hamilton or something?
Hamilton has one, Middletown has one, and I feel like there was somebody else that was just getting ready to pass one, and I don't know what it was, but I feel like I just saw it the other day. But we use it all the time with a 2-year-old at home. We'd throw her in the wagon and go get a beer and just kind of walk around and keep her happy and keep me happy. And
It's an interesting trend. Have these communities, and you know better than we do, because that sounds like, I mean, those all sound like southeastern Ohio communities that they're doing it. And I don't know any place in northeast Ohio. Any cities.
No.
You guys know any?
No, I
Nope.
don't. Not
Like,
that I
have
I
any
would
of
like
these
them to
communities
be.
had any trouble with that?
I have not seen anything. I've not heard anything, and I feel like that's something that if there was an issue,
Yeah,
the
you'd
news
hear
would
about
jump
it.
on it. And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
play.
Right.
So I haven't seen any issues with it.
That's very cool.
You get a lot of strange looks from people still, that people that just don't know that it's there, and they see you walking
Right.
around with your beer.
Right.
Right.
But other than that,
But, you know, I spent some time overseas, and that's the norm over there.
Is that right?
So that also takes away some of the like taboo feelings about having alcohol in public, drunk in public, that kind of thing. Because I mean, living over there for 8 months, you saw people walking around sharing full bottles of wine with their friends with no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a broader trend as far as like where we're going? I don't know, with alcohol,
I think
with
it's-
the way we approach it in our country.
I think it's going back to the way things kind of used to be. Too.
Yeah.
Like this whole idea of having breweries in every town. You know, it's like
Right.
it used to be that way.
Right.
You used to
Right.
be able to just go hang out, grab a beer somewhere, and walk around with it if you wanted to. At one time, you know, that was just normal, and it wasn't until the prudish, prohibition laws started happening, that died off. So I think it's just more of that normalizing back to the way things are supposed to be.
Do you think as a country we've had like issues with alcoholism and drunk driving and some of the problems that we have had with alcohol? And I'm going way deep here than I ever thought we were going to go in this podcast. But do you think some of that had something to do with the fact that we've that we've made it so taboo in our country for so long?
When we were at today, when we were at Nocterra, the owners were talking about their kids were there. I think they were 9 years old, 9 and 11, and they were saying, they just get so used to this being part of their life to grow up in a brewery and how it's normal for them, and it's not this over sensationalized taboo thing like alcohol. It's just a part of their life. And I also was pretty close to one of our foreign exchange students in high school who grew up in Germany, and they would literally go home. Thank you. They would go home from school at lunchtime, go home and eat with their families. They'd have wine and whatever. And
it was like that in Italy too.
Yeah. Right. And it was so normal for them. So it was never this taboo, risque thing to do to try and sneak it from your parents.
You're taught from a very young age to respect the drink and to not abuse it. And you can have a glass of wine with your dinner. You don't have to have the entire bottle, and it's just a different way of approaching it. And you can enjoy all those wonderful flavors and the pairings with food and without abusing it and feel like, the minute you turn 21, you got to run out of your house and go get stupid because it's been repressed from you.
Like the preacher's daughter type mindset.
I mean, we absolutely want what we can't have in life, and if we're told, so much, you can't have this, you can't drink that.
Well, and it's just funny too because, like, for me, when I was younger, my dad would, like I said, he's a big Miller High Life fan. That's all he's ever drank, But when I was younger, I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "It's beer. You want to try it?" And I was like, "Okay." And I tried it, and when you're 3, you think it's the grossest thing in the world. So I had no desire to try it.
Well, mostly because he handed you Miller Lite. Exactly. Let's be honest. If he had handed you this Scotch Ale at a very young age, you would have a whole different perception, wouldn't you?
But what I'm saying is he didn't hide it from me. He didn't try and make it something.
I can still remember that first taste of Stroh's, and I didn't dislike it. I kind of loved it, and I think that's part of the problem of why I ended up as a beer blogger.
I don't call that a problem.
My wife would disagree.
You know what I think I like about craft as a whole is that it is more about the flavor.
Yeah.
It's more about the experience of sharing a beer, with a friend, and I don't know if there's something to the way it's made with quality ingredients. Some of the beers are a lot more heavy and flavorful than the light macro stuff that we were told for so long as a country that this is beer and this is the only beer.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but like, I can't, as much as I love beer anymore at my age, I can only have so many of them, right? And I think that lends itself to not abusing it and not becoming an alcoholic, because you just like after 3 or 4 craft beers on a weekend, I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to grab a 12-pack of Bud anymore and knock out an entire 12-pack on a weekend.
Right.
And so I think
I reserve that for very special occasions.
No, I just think the average craft beer drinker tends to approach drinking beer a lot differently. They don't drink to excess. They don't. There's a lot more respect of the beverage. Exactly. We're not drinking to get hammered. We're not drinking to get plowed. We're drinking for the experience, for the taste, for the flavors, for the enjoyment. And you can only have so much of it, as good as it is.
Yeah.
You almost can't become an alcoholic drinker.
I don't even think we can. All of us can contain that much excitement. Listen how excited we get over one beer that we have.
Yeah.
And then and we're not excited about getting this, like you said, a 12-pack or a case. It's like that one beer, and so we're gonna take our time and love that thing, right? And that's what we do.
I don't want to downplay the alcohol issues that do exist with some craft beer fans either.
Right.
I think that's
there's always a segment of any population.
We could really go down a rabbit hole here of how people that are in our position kind of are putting beer on one level that a lot of people are struggling on a whole different level.
No, 100%.
Even as craft beer fans.
I think we probably all have it in our own families.
Yeah, absolutely. Start back down here. Let's start going through.
We have another beer. What are we
what are we drinking?
What do we have here?
So this beer is called Eurotrip.
Nice.
And it is a
very fitting after the stories we were just telling.
What is
Well
it?
done.
Euro
it is a Southern London brown ale, and I was looking up the differences because I'm still, acquainting myself with the beers themselves. The London style, as opposed to the Northern English brown, is sweeter and lower IBU. It also says it's a sessionable beer, which is good for us.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So what a northern brown, let's compare that to something macro that maybe the average craft or non-craft fan.
I believe
Would that
they
be
compared
like-
it to
would they be more like
Newcastle.
Newcastle? Yeah.
Okay. So a southern brown would be more like what? Because it
That-
definitely is maltier and sweeter.
Yeah.
Is there anything mass market that you would compare it to?
The BJCP style guidelines say that Man's Brown Ale, Harvey's Nut Brown, and Harvey's Old Ale are all examples of it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's apparently.
I don't know any of those beers.
It's
Neither do
apparently.
I.
I was hoping you guys did.
It is apparently
Sam
a
Smith
dead
nut
style that it's a dead style. We're bringing back a dead style, so someone that's nostalgic
it.
to someone. So
Yeah.
a little taste of nostalgia for you.
No,
you
I
go.
like it a lot.
He's getting good at this marketing thing.
Oh man, just like bam! It's like they pay him for it.
Right.
A reason he's hired.
We're going to start back down here and kind of go over our favorite trends from 2018. Let's go ahead and start down here.
You have any?
Yeah. You got any?
It's okay to say you don't have any trends.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Sure.
As far as trends go, I think I don't know if it's necessarily a trend, but this year, for me, something new that I've discovered is more of the sour beers. That's never been a beer that I've looked for on the shelf. And this year, as we've explored, done a lot of shows and explored a lot of different breweries, I've really discovered a lot of sour beers, and I've always enjoyed fruit beers, like as far, in anything really, but sours I would never imagine myself to like sour beers, and I have really developed a taste for them this year a lot. And so, I don't know, that's just been something that has been exciting to me, to get to discover a new part of, a new side of beer that I haven't really explored before. So I think there are a lot of breweries that are doing really cool things with sours and exploring different, even random fruits, a lot of random tastes or random flavors that I haven't seen before. So I don't know, that's kind of exciting for me.
Yeah, and I'd even say to that point that you've experienced, because I think I know the beers you're talking about, some of them, the fruit game of like some of these over-fruited beers have stepped their game up dramatically, and a lot of these like over-fruited beers, which I love, and I love to see that. Since you gave a trend that I think that you like, I'll go ahead and give one that I didn't like. I had to really think about this question, actually, as Rob gave it to me about a week ago. And there, of course, you have like the New England and the brewed IPAs, and I love any type of beer trend itself. I don't knock, or I'm not against, and I love seeing it. No matter how many times I see the same style, it's interesting to taste the differences, the nuances. One thing, a trend I really don't like to see, this is kind of maybe a rough, but it's by us, the consumers, I'd say, is someone saying, I hate that brewery, or I just don't like that particular brewery. And to me, it's just like, how can you categorize an entire brewery just into one? I mean, just like slow down, give it a minute, maybe. Overall, in hindsight of everything, it's okay if you don't like that beer, this beer, that beer, but making that a trend to categorize your likes and dislikes based on the branding of a brewery.
And to that point, too, how many breweries have we checked out when they're in their infancy and we go, man, they sucked. But then you turn around and go back there a year and a half later when they've done their due diligence, they've put people in place, and you're like, holy crap, look what they've done. And that's one of those, so many people write it off after. You could have been in there on a day that everything that could have gone wrong in that brewery did.
Right.
You can't write it off for that.
Yeah, and you can't define a taste of a beer like a Miller Lite, like a big, macro beer by their name. You just can't. So if that's the approach you're coming at it, that's just an uninformed take on it.
Something cool for us too is the Hop and the Bean. At the end of our season this year, we did a little award show, and so Buzz and I sat down and kind of looked over the breweries that we visited this year and talked about what they all brought to the table as far as beer, as far as merchandise, as far as branding, as far as community aspect, what their building's like, all of that stuff. And experience. And so we were able to sit down and be like, wow, this brewery really brought, the way that they brand themselves is really amazing. And like, wow, this company really just puts forth such a community feel, and this, and so we were able to come up with, I don't know how many did we have, maybe 10 more
categories?
than that, yeah, categories.
Yeah, I think there were over 10. Yeah.
And we could have had more, and so that's really the heart that we want to see coming through with this beer community, is not really, like he said, categorizing as a whole. I don't like this brewery, or this brewery, sucks, or whatever. It's like you have to be able to address the positives that are coming out, because not everyone's going to nail every single category as far as a business goes. But you have to be able to celebrate and encourage and lift up the parts that these breweries are doing well, and give them a little, boost to continue. And nobody's going to be perfect coming right out of the gate.
You made a bad beer, it sucked. That's fair.
That's okay. I mean,
nobody's perfect.
All right. Before we move on to Rob's, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
And then we'll pick up when we get back, and we'll go down the line and continue with the favorite trends or least favorite trends of 2018. We'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. Welcome back to the social media mashup event of the century. We are in the middle of our favorite and least favorite beer trends of 2018. Rob, it's up to you now.
I'm going to defer to Sean and let him start us up this segment.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So, beer tourism, huge around Ohio. I mentioned it earlier on with the Columbus Ale Trail, but with Cleveland introducing one, Dayton's had one, the one in Summit County, the one that's on the coast of Ohio, the Pennsylvania-Ohio border, if you will. I don't know the names of all of them. I've gotten pamphlets, but Cincinnati maybe soon.
We have a little one.
But that is a very positive thing for Ohio, from getting out, getting to places, getting people to understand that it's not just the biggest place. There are a ton of other small places to go to, and I think it allows people to support local breweries even more. So they may not know about a place in Newark, but they can look at the Ale Trail and say, hey, I need a stamp from Dank House. And they can go out there and they can get a stamp from Dank House, and then they can hit up Trek on the way back, and they can, look at Three Tigers in Granville, and they can hit up that small section, and Homestead right there in Heath. Like, all of those places from a person in Columbus may not know. And I mean, obviously the Columbus Ale Trail continues to get larger. I think there were 41 or 43 breweries on it this year. So excited to see what Volume 5 has. But Rob, I know you wanted to mention the negative components of beer tourism.
Yeah, I think definitely on the flip side of that, there's some pratfalls that we all kind of need to be aware of. It's a tight-knit industry. There's a lot of mom and pops running the business, but there's still some corporate interests involved, and I think there are some bigger players that are maybe interested in exploiting and taking advantage of just how popular craft beer is right now, and how popular beer tourism is. And one of the biggest stories, I think, and this goes back to my biggest stories, which I probably should have included earlier, was the Passport Brew Tour up in Akron, and what a debacle that turned into. It was Canton. It was mostly Canton and some brewers out in that direction. But it was kind of a. It was it wasn't officially named like the Stark County, but it was a lot of Stark County breweries. One out in Wayne County, one out in, I don't remember even. But there was, probably about 11, 12 breweries that were involved, and in some non-brewery entities like some craft beer bars and I think a restaurant. And but it was just kind of this. It just seemed like a big money grab, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And the people that were running it, made an insensitive post on their Facebook social media account that they had set up, and the whole damn thing just blew up. And unfortunately, the mom and pop breweries that were associated with it felt like they had a little bit of egg on their face, and they had to scramble really quickly to distance themselves from this entity. So I think, as some of these passport trails evolve, you'll start to see that maybe the brewers themselves will take a little bit more control and maybe be a little more choosy about which organizations they choose to involve themselves with. The Summit Brew Path, I think, has been a real good, successful one because it's been, involved with a legit organization. The tourist or the Summit County
Tourism
Bureau, it's a legit tourism organization that's dedicated to promoting business and so I think people will be a little bit more choosy as who they're going to associate themselves with. Ultimately, you are who you associate yourself with, and
Right.
It's the caution of social media in general. I mean,
For
once
sure.
you put it out there, people see it. People
Can't
tweet
take it back.
Yeah, and
respond,
you can't take it
reply.
back.
Yeah, I know that they tried very hard to fix it, and they just made it worse.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I
absolutely. And that's
remember-
the biggest thing that happened with that whole debacle is
Yeah.
that those people that were involved with it, they didn't come right out and make the appropriate post that they needed to distance themselves from whoever
It's
the
industry
person is that
standard.
was running their page. They just
I remember
there's a whole lot of cover up, and
Yeah.
the cover up is often worse than the crime sometimes, right? And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
They
that's what happened
posted
in that situation.
They posted a blog post by Craft Beer Joe about women in the industry, and it was like they didn't even if they would have been promoting that prior to that post, then it feels natural. But
Sure.
then it felt like this, hey, we have to do this, and
Right.
and we need to do this, and thankfully, Craft Beer Joe goes out and says, hey guys, I wrote this for a reason, and I don't want to be associated with you and
Right.
what you're doing. You were wrong, and don't try to cover it up with what I've written. And but that's, just the caution of it. Just
Right.
Yeah. And to all those brewers' credits, they came the minute that post came out, they all came out and distanced it. They all started dropping like flies from that particular tour. And you say a lot of those same breweries, unfortunately, are ones that aren't associated with another trail in Ohio,
Right.
other than the Ohio Craft Beer app, which is a
Right.
great app. If you don't have that, go download it now. It's very cool. But other than that, they're not associated with a trail. They're not on the Summit Brew Path. So I think they also saw it as an opportunity to be part of something because their particular county wasn't, actively involved in organizing something like that. And so, it's just an unfortunate situation all the way around. But they were very smart to quickly come out and distance themselves from that organization.
Absolutely. Gnome?
I know we talked about kind of the light lager thing a little bit, but I'm just going to throw lagers on it. I feel like every single year, I'm like, this is the year. It's a trend. They're finally going to catch on. And I feel like they are now. This year we did see some of those lighter ones with Cheetah and Garage Beer in my neck of the woods. But it's also on a not so light side too. You're starting to see Vienna lagers. And you're starting to see Pilsners and stuff like that. But Braxton does a Dortmunder that's phenomenal in my opinion. There's some really, really great lagers out there. Obviously Great Lakes has their Dortmunder too.
Absolutely.
But, it's become the norm. You walk into a tap room and it's not like, oh my God, you have a lager. It's like, of course you have a lager.
Nice.
It's taking on a different kind of tone. So
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple breweries. One was Jolly Scholar. They're located on Case Western Reserve's campus in Cleveland, and they had a lot of construction people coming in around then, and they're also on a college bar, on a college campus. So they had to basically make an American light lager because that's what people were coming in for construction-wise, and students, they're looking for the bang for the buck. And it's they're only $4 a pint there. It's really cheap. It's really nice. And it's just it's a really cool trend. I agree. Brian?
You guys have kind of hit all of the trends that I've liked. This is going to sound a little odd, but you look at how cyclical barrel aging gets. Mm-hmm. What different kinds of barrels we use and things like that. I did not like the apple brandy thing this year. I was not a fan of the apple brandy barrels.
Gotcha.
I just, sometimes when you're after a barrel-aged stout or a heavy hitter, sometimes that apple brandy just adds something to it that I think, in my opinion, takes away from the heavier hitters that I like to see.
Right.
So, on the same coin, I'm curious what the barrel trend is for next year.
I would
that'll
say
be
sours. It's got to be sours.
Yeah.
Getting sours into barrels with places that weren't doing it before has to be.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever had a gin barrel aged beer?
Yes.
Yes.
Heard of them.
The place that we
Platform
just
had one.
came from, Wolfridge, actually did one.
Platform did one.
Yeah, Platform
Maybe
did an
that's what I
excellent
heard,
one.
yeah.
Mad Tree has a great one. That's a gin and bourbon.
And I didn't think I was going to like it, and just with the gin.
Yeah, I'm not a
it was
fan of
very well
gin.
bid,
I mean,
very well
but-
balanced.
But yeah, very unique.
Yeah. And then, so we're going to go into our favorite beers of the last year. Who wants to start this one out?
Anyone?
I'm going to start.
Anyone?
I'm
Bueller?
going to start down.
I mean,
Start down with Brian.
Yeah, I can start. I won't go too far through my list, just because I know that a lot of
You
my
could go
list
on
kind
We
of
all have lists.
yeah.
We could do a whole show on just
We
this.
really
Let's
could.
face it.
And it definitely overlaps with some of you guys. But one of my favorites from this year, and it's one of my favorite festivals or days to go to, is Warped Wings Whiskey Rebellion Days. I love Whiskey Rebellion. It is truly the barrel-aged stout that got me into that style of beer. And last year they...
Hey, Brian, pass it down.
Oh, yeah. Hey, well, I'm not drinking. Hey, I didn't take it, though. I didn't take it. I'm just talking.
Hoarding them.
I kid. Go on.
But last year they introduced, the adjuncts with the caramel, peaches, and vanilla, and though it sounded quite weird, it was delicious. And then this year they went even bigger, and they released a 3-year reserve to go with everything. So I'm curious what's going to happen this year, but I'll tell you what, if you can get out to Dayton for that, that's one of my favorite things that happens.
And when is that?
It was October, November. It was not too long ago.
Okay.
They do it in the fall every year. And then I'll kind of, I guess, being from down this way, Jackie is Approbation. And believe it or not, for me, the original Approbation is the one that I love the most. I've had quite a few of their different adjuncts, but the original is fantastic. Down in your neck of the woods, the Gadget, Urban
yeah.
Artifact.
Yes.
It's on my list too.
First,
Yeah,
it's
we've done a couple lists.
And
it
then,
is their first year-round Midwest fruit tart,
and it's
so it'll
fantastic.
be on shelves
Yeah.
year-round.
I
that
think
was
you're
big
going to hear that
news.
on a lot of our
Yeah.
lists.
And then up
Yeah.
you guys'
Not
way, obviously, Masthead. I love
Yes.
Underverse and all of the adjuncts that go with that.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite for the hazy IPA craze was the Dream Crusher. So
Yeah, that one was
Yeah.
great.
That's all.
Gnome?
I don't typically choose favorites, so
I'm in the
gonna-
same boat
I'm
with
going to
you.
word it a little bit different, just say notable things for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
I was, and it was probably first released at the very end of last year, but Street Side with their sour program, diving into some barrel-aged sours. They're all in the family was amazing, and some of the things that came off of that series. Braxton's Dark Charge release always gets me really excited every year, and it's fresh on my mind since it was in December, so I'll throw that on there too. And of course, anything that Urban is doing, I'm all about, especially
Love
on their
Urban Artifact.
their barrel side is phenomenal, and they are the craziest, nuttiest group of people in the best way possible. And
Yeah.
I've done a couple
Nice.
posts on them, and being that they're a Cincinnati brewery, I don't post a lot about breweries outside of Northeast Ohio, but anytime Urban Artifact releases something new and crazy, I do have to post on it. And they just posted about doing some off-the-wall sour beer with some, what is that fruit that they...
the durian fruit,
Durian fruit,
yeah,
yeah.
stinky things.
The stinky durian fruit. Who else in the world would brew a beer with a durian fruit?
Right.
But
Not only did they do the beer, they served little pieces of durian fruit for everybody to try.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
You just had to go outside in the beer garden, out in the cold, and get it because the thing stinks so
Yeah.
bad when you cut into it.
Well, see, and I was texting a couple of my friends about this, and one of them told me, now I haven't personally had this one, but I've heard one of the more insane ones, flavor-wise, that they've done recently was Landline.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did not get a
You had
chance.
one,
So
right?
good.
I have one in my fridge, Rob, with my name on it. Yes, I love it. I love
Like a
Landline.
smoothie.
And they also do the parfait Sundays or Saturdays as well,
Yeah,
right?
Saturdays.
Oh,
Every
nice.
Saturday they do a parfait
Those
beer,
drinks are
which
dangerous.
they refuse to put into a can because of all of the
Volatility.
the exploding cans.
Good for them.
That's a bad trend. Let's throw that out there.
Yeah.
Exploding,
Exploding
cans.
cans.
If your product could explode in somebody's car, let's just
Probably
not
not a good
put it in
trend.
can.
Right.
Yeah. Sean?
And before you start, what are we drinking now?
All right, so we went 2 beers without talking about them, so I'll go back a moment and talk about the Koosh. So if you remember the Koosh balls.
Yes.
Yeah, so a little throwback to the days of throwing those around. That was a hazy pale ale.
And
So
hazy it was.
Hazy it
Yeah,
was.
I enjoyed
The current is Pokey, which if you are a
Oh,
fan of
really?
Gumby,
Oh.
Gumby.
I'm Gumby.
Fun fact, that's actually my wife's nickname.
Easy.
Gumby. No, Gumby is, not
Gumby.
Pokey. Come on, guys. This is PG-13 at the best.
That's what my wife calls me.
You opened the door.
My bad.
And we're back. So Pokey
You can bring your children back into
is
the room.
Pokey.
is a mimosa brut IPA, so you get the dryness there, but also the orange. It's very breakfasty beer.
Yeah.
And for the record, you said remember Gumby, and that's when I said that's my wife's nickname.
Yeah. Backtracking.
I'm Gumby, damn it.
I'm Gumby.
So I try to drink a lot of different styles from different places, and I try to drink it on site, and I may not remember all of the variations of things that I tried at places because I don't log everything in Untappd, but I will say the things that were standouts: the Millersburg Imperial Pope Pumpkin Ale. It won a medal. It was tasty for pumpkin ale for sure.
Nice.
The Cinnamon Toast Brunch from Wolf's Ridge was solid. I love me some Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and that hit on that. So
Nice.
yeah.
I really enjoyed a lot of what was coming out of Masthead this year.
Their Haunted Hayride was pretty solid.
The Haunted Hayride was good.
I didn't drink a lot of pumpkin
series
beers.
is just really good.
Yeah,
And
I didn't drink a lot of pumpkin beers this year.
Neither did I.
This has kind of been an off year for me, but that is one I did have, and I really did enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm kind of like Gnome. I don't have like a list of favorites. I just like whatever you're asking me, whatever I'm drinking when you ask me, that's my favorite. to steal a line from my dad who's sitting here watching us. You ask him what his favorite cigar is, he's telling you whatever he's smoking at the moment. It's just whatever the mood takes me, and
Yep.
that's Masthead, Market Garden, Jolly Scholar. They're all putting out some Railroad, Avon out in Avon, Ohio. Both of those guys are putting out some fantastic product, and there's no shortage of great beer out there. So go check out everything that you can.
And we talked about this a little bit earlier with going to tap rooms and the experience you get in the tap room with beers, and how beers just become better tasting beers when you drink it from the source. I mean, obviously it's fresher and everything, and no wonder it's better when it's fresher.
Right.
But like the experience you have in the tap room with someone talking to you about the beer and about why that beer was brewed the way it was, or what was different and why they chose certain fruits. And I mean, Gnome, you talked to Urban Artifact about how they get some of these fruits, and it's just insane, like what made them choose these things. And they're like, we just wanted to do something crazy. Like, I mean, that's awesome.
I think that's one of my favorite trends too, is just people willing to experiment with their beer on
risks.
whatever, taking risks on whatever it is, and a lot of times it comes out fantastic. So it's risk rewards is really good on that one. Rob?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the same thing as you guys. I don't like to say I have top ones, but some of the
But you
ones
have a
that
list?
kind of I do have a list, but kind of the ones that like were really memorable to me.
Yeah,
I guess,
no,
absolutely. For me, I do like a lot of the hazy pale ales. I'm on board with
Right.
and IPAs. I'm totally on board with that trend. But in my top 5 list of most memorable beers this year, really none of them really made. There's not a New England IPA in there.
Nice.
I actually have 3 fruited beers in there. So also Urban Artifact, the Gadget. We said that'd be on a lot of people's lists. Magic City up in Barberton, Ohio, also did a fruited Goza, which is fantastic. It's called Wolf Amongst Ravens. That was the top one for me. Missing Mountain in Cuyahoga Falls also did a fruited Goza with raspberry and lime and vanilla bean, and it was called Au Contraire Mon Frere.
Great name.
Really enjoyed that one. I'm with Brian, totally on board with Masthead in the Underverse series. My favorite one was the Bourbon Barrel Aged Coffee Underverse. I thought that one was fantastic. The tiramisu was good, but the Bourbon Barrel Aged Coffee was
I still have a
winner
can of
for
that
me.
tiramisu sitting in Asian.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good.
And then somebody mentioned Streetside.
Yeah,
Streetside did
Streetside's
an
been putting out some
excellent
good
collaboration with Platform.
Yeah.
I think called Undercover Martian, and I really enjoyed
Their
that one a
Mio
lot.
Mai was really good. This milkshake.
Maybe was
IPA.
that? No, that was actually it was Mio Mai or
Yeah,
whatever.
that
it was
one
called.
was cherry vanilla. That one was really
Yeah.
good. And I'm hesitant on certain milkshake IPAs a lot. I like the style. I like the evolution of what it is. I'm not knocking it. It's just sometimes they don't sit well on my palate, but that one was one of the better ones I'd really had.
Right. And I don't know, probably one of my top beers all year is actually a non-Ohio beer, but it's got an Ohio tie into it, and it sounds like blasphemy when we're sitting here having an Ohio beer podcast.
What's the name of your page?
Yeah. It's a beer called Situational Ethics by Monday Night Brewing out of Atlanta.
Oh.
And the tie-in is that they had a unique craft beer festival up in Jefferson, Ohio, which is kind of maple syrup country, I guess, for Ohio, for Northeast Ohio. Yeah, it literally has one stoplight if it has that many. Yeah. And they had a little fest in late October, and a number of national breweries, but also a number like Founders and Goose Island, but a lot of local ones like Brick and Barrel and a couple others were there. And the beer that really knocked my socks off was Monday Night Brewing Situational Ethics, which is brewed in bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup barrels.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 Maple syrup, bourbon
it's
barrels.
actually bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup.
Yeah.
So the maple syrup itself is aged in bourbon barrels.
That's awesome.
And then put back into the
like
beer.
bourbon barrel pancakes.
And yes, and it was in the
Tomorrow morning.
bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup came from a maple farm in Jefferson, Ohio.
Okay.
So that beer just absolutely blew me away. So.
Yeah.
Nice. Buzz?
Yeah, I have a couple similar actually to Rob. One being Urban Artifact. Actually, the landline you guys are talking about, I really loved the orange and the strawberry. I think it was that was in there. The orange. The banana was in there. Different kind of fruit flavors that came through really well that I really loved. Mm-hmm. And then also from Magic City as well, their New England IPA, Otherworldly Origins, was probably, with as many New England IPAs that I had this year, that I have to say stuck out to me as one of my favorites. I mean, I'm with you guys. Whatever beer that I am drinking or whatever brewery I'm visiting is usually my favorite. There's so many, but that one consistently stuck out to me. Just the hop character. I think it was with lactose as well. One of my favorite New Englands all year long. Oak and Trim on Fur was amazing. I had it actually with Rob one day. I loved it. It was so thick and just like a kind of like a smoothie flavor that it gave you with all the blackberry, lime, and vanilla. And then our Shea did a really good New England. They waited for a while because they were researching it so heavily, the style of New England, that Ron didn't want to release one and it not be good. And so, and then even so, about the third batch was at the Whirlpool Party.
That was really
it
good.
was amazing.
I
like
that, yeah.
Not many times when I'm at a brewery will I order the same beer.
Yeah.
I ordered 2 of those
very
one night,
good.
and I loved it. Absolutely amazing. And then I'll round it out with, I just had Omnipolo's, I forget the actual name of it, but it was a peanut butter and jelly sour.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I know that. I can't remember the name either.
With raspberry and strawberry jam, it was called the flavors.
Is that an Ohio brewery? I kid. I had one that wasn't Ohio too.
Yeah.
Where's the Ohio tie-in?
Fair enough. But it was so good.
I just got a text from my wife that says the microphone is blocking my face completely. I knew this
You
would
were
come
worried
up.
about that.
That's
I
why
said
we
that.
did
I knew
that.
that. But you know what?
That's why
It's
we
on
did that.
purpose because I have neither the face for TV or the voice for radio. So
well,
nobody
that's
wants to
wrong.
see this ugly mug anyway.
All right. Well, now this is a therapy session, and this is transferred. No. No. And Vicky?
Well, I don't.
Nikki, I'm sorry.
I feel like it's okay. I feel like I'm
Nikki.
repeating the whole line of
Well,
guys
thanks,
here.
bud.
But Urban
Because you called him Bud earlier.
okay. I'm a little nervous. No,
It's all good.
Urban Artifact. See now you
Urban
jinxing
Outfitters?
me and I can't.
Urban Meyer.
I'm just gonna start talking in Pig Latin. Key Punch from Urban Artifact. See,
Or
Yes.
EK
has
Unchpay.
been- What?
Or EK Unchpay.
EK Unchpay has been one of my favorites for a while. But
Love
this
that
year,
one.
the Gadget and Landline, both,
Yeah.
I was totally taken by surprise by both of them, and I'm kind of a little bit obsessed, low-key obsessed.
What? And just hold on. Let's just our new member of our team, Miranda.
Yes.
She drank her first Urban Artifact beer, and it was Gadget,
Yeah.
And she said, that beer just gave me chills.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I feel like a schoolgirl. Like I get so excited every time. You know, Buzz will be like, "Nikki, I got some new gadget. Come over." And I'm like,
So
"Oh."
what
I
we're
get
learning
so
is there's
excited.
a lot of
And so-
love for urban artifacts.
But
Yeah.
I
What,
do,
what's pretty
yeah,
amazing
they're
is
just-
that Urban Artifact is
Yes.
in your neck of the woods.
Yeah,
because
right.
that's a long way to go.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
They're just good. I do want to give a shout out though to a local brewery, Head Trip. They're in Still.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We went to the Akron Ale Fest this summer, and they had this. I'm pretty sure it's an IPA, and it was called the Sweet Heat, and it was brewed with pineapple and jalapeno.
Oh, that was
and
good.
That was good.
I get a little leery sometimes when breweries try these like funky creative things, because sometimes, you know, I mean, I think everyone's trying to do something unique and original, and sometimes it really does not come through. But this
Right.
beer was very good, very unique, and I think I had it 3 separate times, and every time it was like a surprise again when I tried it again. So I'm very impressed by that. The Sweet Heat.
In the midst of a beer fest.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
midst of a beer fest. I mean, that was one of the beers that really stuck out to me, and it has ever since. And I think it's just because it was so unique, and it really it tasted like you were drinking a banana pepper kind of. I mean, it was sweet, but it was spicy, and
Nice.
you really
It
really
was
tasted
super
all the
good.
flavor. It was very good. It's one of those.
refreshing.
Yeah, very refreshing. It's just one of those beers that you can kind of taste. There's a taste in the beginning, and then in the middle, and then the finish, and then the aftertaste. And so it was exciting to drink that.
Yeah.
You know.
That sounds really good.
Mm-hmm. So those are my
Um,
favorites.
So, anybody have anything else to add before we start doing our outros and getting out of here? We've kind of covered everything.
Just
yeah.
trends toward 2019 or
Yeah.
new breweries that are opening. Anybody got
Yeah.
anything
Anybody
that
have
they're really
anything off the
looking
top of your
forward to
head?
coming this year?
We're sitting in one.
Yeah,
that is-
nostalgia.
I'm excited about nostalgia. You know,
Nostalgia?
after trying all his beers this
These are
evening,
great
I'm
beers.
excited for nostalgia too.
These are fantastic beers.
And where we were at earlier today.
Nocterra.
Yeah, looking forward to them
We
too.
were at a lot of places, so we were narrowing it down.
Nocterra in Powell,
Nocterra
Ohio
in
is one
February.
you're gonna wanna check out.
That is going to be one of the
Yes.
coolest tap rooms
Yes.
that you will visit.
fun.
It was a really cool vibe. It's going to be awesome. Definitely the Nocterra.
and
for
some of
sure.
the nicest people
They've-
you've ever
they've got
run
Oh
some-
yeah, super nice people.
They've
February
got some really
2nd.
Family
big
friendly.
plans too.
Yeah.
And before we sign off, it looks like one other round is coming around, so we need to put in another shameless plug.
I think we were all actually really impressed with Nocterra's
Yeah.
planning and
Yeah.
just how much
Absolutely.
thought went into
Yeah.
the layout of that brewery. And these guys, we're talking, they're just like home brewers. None of these guys went to Seibel Institute in Chicago or any of
They
those
have a
crazy
lab
brewery
in their
schools.
brewery, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've already got a lab in there, and they haven't even opened the doors. And
And they've separated their sour, what's going to be the sour facility, away from everything else, and it operates on its own HVAC system. So they're already taking precautions to prevent the cross contamination that we've seen in different entities
Yeah.
through this past year.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
pretty remarkable for a startup brewery to see just how much thought they put into everything. They've obviously done their homework, and so they're definitely going to be one to check out. What are we drinking?
And then Sean, what are we drinking here to wrap up the show?
Ooh.
Yeah, so this would
like
be the No Wrong Way, and it is a peanut butter porter. So make sure you give it a nice smell because the aroma of peanut butter is there.
And I speaking from my experience, how we were talking about how some things can taste artificial.
Yeah.
This doesn't.
This does
No,
not at
it's
all.
not, yeah.
This
You're right.
is
There's a
very
peanut
well
butter
done.
I found a lot of
Yeah,
the peanut butter that comes out of Ohio never taste fake. At least the ones that I've had, and
Right.
then you get outside of the state. and
Ohio
you
does
find a
have the best
lot
peanut
of-
butter. I mean, that's
That's a given.
It's a little known fact.
Peanut shell,
best peanut butter farms.
Chocolate peanut shell.
Yeah.
So real quick, in terms of upcoming actual in Columbus is opening a Clintonville location.
Oh, nice.
I think it's soon, like next Friday, this Friday, something like that. Nocterra Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Obviously, got a plug there, but the one big thing is 6-1 Pour is an event that happens in Columbus
Yes.
every year.
Yes.
And it's at Huntington Park, and it's only breweries that are part of the Ohio Craft Brewers Association. And it's a really big event. It's outdoors, but they have it underneath the rotunda area or whatever you want to call it. So rain or shine, it's still a solid event. I've been there both when it's rain and shine. And I think the quarterly podcast event should happen around that time. Just
Quarterly
just
now.
throwing
huh?
it out
Hey,
there.
We're getting ambitious.
Quarterly.
We could do it. We could do outdoor. We could
Yeah.
do it there.
Right?
On premise.
Yeah.
On premise.
On that note, with the 6-1 pour, the Ohio Craft Brewers Association actually does another. I think that's one of their 3 flagship events of the year. We have a rather big one up in Cleveland too that everybody looks forward to every year, and it's the Winter Warmer Fest in March.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will be lobbying with my wife to let me go to that one.
Right. Yeah.
I have missed it. It's the 13th annual this year. I have not been able to get up there to
What's
date.
the actual date?
But I think it's March 9th from 2
Yeah,
to 5
somewhere in there.
and at Windows on the River in the Flats. But that is that. I mean, you ask the brewers themselves what their favorite beer fest of the year is, and to a man, most of them will tell you it's that one.
Nice.
And with most craft beer heads, that's their favorite one too, because most of the brewers are actually there, and a lot of beer fests, you get a lot of volunteers that really don't know about the beer a whole
Right.
lot. But almost all the brewers actually go to that fest, so you can actually walk up to the booths and actually sit there and talk to the brewers, and it's supposedly just one of the best events
That's
all
what
year,
I've
and
heard
I'm
the
really
same
looking
thing.
forward to
Nice.
that one.
Halloween is another one.
Halloween, yep,
Oh,
in
yeah.
Dayton, another big event of the year.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up now.
Yes.
Thank you guys all for being here and coming out to Columbus. Gnome, you drove all the way from Cincy. You got to go back.
In a blizzard.
In a blizzard. Hop in the
Blizzardo,
Bean, you got to get back up
Diablo.
there.
To drive from Cincinnati.
I'm
to-
staying here tonight. And no, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Thank
Lot
you
of fun.
so much. Look for this episode. It's going to be out through the various platforms that are out there. I'm going to be releasing this on next Friday. No, when do you plan on releasing this?
Mine will be up on Monday.
So you can listen to it in our different formats. I'm not cutting mine up. Mine's going to be just this. So just however unscripted,
Maybe
raw,
I'll do
unedited.
like, commentary throughout
And then
mine. Like,
Oh, nice. There you go.
And then I'll probably just steal your audio for our group and
Yeah.
give
Yeah, I
you
think
kudos
that's
and
where
props.
it's-
No
Sounds good.
plagiarism here.
No, it's free to share. Free to share. Thank you guys all for being here, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you all for
Thank you
tuning
to our
in.
host,
And,
Nostalgia
thank
Brewing,
you
most
for
of all, for
everybody.
putting
Yes,
us up
thank you
here
guys.
tonight and letting us broadcast.
Letting us try the beer and all that. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
everybody plug your sites again for me.
You're all-
Oh yeah, and then so
Yeah.
go ahead down the line through your sites and
more
podcast
time.
names.
Yeah, Hop of the Bean. We are usually last season we were on Facebook Live. This next season, look for us to be launching our brand new YouTube channel. We're
Nice.
on Instagram,
Nice.
Hop and Bean, and still on Facebook.
Northeast Ohio Craft Brewery News.
The Taproom exclusive.
NEO Craft Beer Community.
TheGnarlyGnome.com and CincyBrewcast.com.
Points on Pints, but also the Nostalgia Brewing Facebook page.
There we go.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
guys for being here, and tune in. Have a good one, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm all hopped up.